KK, or should I call you Ken? Which would you prefer?
Whichever you feel most comfortable with is fine by me.
Okay, I didn't know if in your career you had like a Debbie Gibson moment where she became Deborah Gibson. I didn't know if there's like, I'm Ken, stop calling me KK, but the band is called KK's Priest. So you still like being KK.
Yeah, anything you feel comfortable with is fine.
Well, thank you for taking the time. Longtime fan of what it is that you do. Good day for you so far?
Yes, excellent. Thank you, Darren. All good.
Good. Well, Sermons of the Sinner, is it totally done or are there still some tweaks going on? Because if I read correctly, it's coming out in October. Sometimes bands will announce a release date and the album's not mastered yet.
Yeah, no, it's all done. I think it's just like some kind of logistics at the pressing plants and backlogs and stuff like that. And it's because it's gone exceptionally well, you know. So it's about supplying the demand, really. I think, you know, to some major retailers. So it's kind of a good but a bad problem to have, you know. So unfortunately, the guys have had to put the date back to accommodate all around, really. But we're still plowing on with releasing more songs and videos, more content. So we'll get there in the end, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I believe the American version has 10 songs. Of course, the Japanese version will have somewhere between 11 and 15 because they always get extra bonus tracks over there. But around how many songs did you write for this album?
Well, I actually there wasn't really a surplus, Darren, because I was going away, you know, and it was going great, you know, at such a rate of knots. And then when I put the clock on it and got to 50 minutes, I thought I've got to stop here, you know, and because I was still going. So that's kind of what I did, because there was a deadline, a very quick deadline. This was before COVID,
right? To
get the record out in 2020, so that we could get on tour, and we actually had some a touring schedule put together that year, and of course that all got cancelled, and so did you know, this year. So I was able to take the foot off the gas, really, but just deliver the record. But since then, I've gone back into writing mode and have quite a substantial amount of more material ready to go for another record, to be fair. You know, as you say, the Japanese, they always push for extra tracks, but I have a problem with it. And I did in Judas Priest. We always had a problem, because if you give a territory an extra track, do you give them something that's substandard? Because you don't want anybody anywhere to have a substandard song.
Yeah.
But if it's a really good track, you know, why do you just want that territory to have it and nowhere else? That doesn't work either.
Yeah. I can think of bands who did both ways. Sometimes the bonus track turned out to be one of the best songs they ever did, and sometimes it was a throwaway. I think the compromise is it's just either a live version of a song that's already on the album, or it's a cover. Then nobody gets offended, because still some people are happy.
Yeah, well, like I say, we'll, you know, I'll pick up the subject with the label and see exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah,
because we like to treat all of our fans in exactly the same way, without preferential treatment, you know.
Understood. Well, I find it amazing that when you think about it, it's been nearly 10 years since we've seen an album from you. And I say that because you came out with a book. I saw you do more interviews on behalf of that book than probably your whole career before that. So there's been no shortage of KK. It's just after a while you think about it and, hey, it has been a while since we've heard that new music. That's great to see he's back, per se. Did you know that this was going to be a band and not just a one-off for fun thing at the beginning when you started it?
Well, I think the answer is the way that it happened was because I did those couple of gigs in November was the last time, and that was with Ripper, obviously, and Dave Ellefson and Les Dinks, and that was great. So I did that here in the UK. And then that Christmas, literally a month later, because I don't really do Christmas because, I don't have like wife and kids and stuff like that. So I just thought, good opportunity to get some work done. So I shut myself away thinking that I won't put the cart before the horse. Let's see if I can put an album together and then make the phone calls to put the band together. So I did it that way around, so the music came together very, very quickly, all of it. I was even able to do, lots of lyrics and vocal melodies because I was there, and I kept wanting to embellish the song because I wanted to hear how they were going to sound, and so that's what happened. But so the band came after that, so it gave more reassurance really that it was going to happen, rather than put the band together and go, okay, let's write some songs. How does that go again? So it was a good way around to do it. So that's what happened.
Are you the kind of writer who just comes up with the riffs and then builds the song around the riff, or do you actually hear the vocal melody in your head to some extent?
Yeah, I hear everything. Obviously when I was in Judas Priest, we were a collaboration. There was 3 of us.
Yeah.
But that sounds good. But when you're a part of a team, often, as good as it is, things can be a compromise,
Yeah.
And you have to sometimes give way, So it was good to do it kind of, I was on my own and I did it, and I was just had the total freedom to do everything the way that I heard it, which was new for me because, I used to do that when we were going back to the late 60s, I was the only writer, but together with Al Atkins, the first singer,
yes.
And he was quite talented for sure. And we did sort of, so we put the stuff together, So I was quite used to doing it. I'd done it before, but it had been a long time, But this time I found it a lot easier to write because I was on my own, rather than to try and accommodate other people's tastes and stuff,
When you say that you hear the song in your head, do you hear it when you're at the golf course? Do you have to be at a specific place to hear the new material that you're going to come up with?
To be honest, I suppose I'm like a lot of other people. You hear of people jotting down, even the great Jimi Hendrix in a restaurant on the tablecloth or something, writing lyrics. But stuff like that does go on. So ideas can come to you wherever you are. In the bathroom, it can happen anywhere, in the supermarket.
Sure.
It can happen. But like I say, I shut myself away, and literally in about 5 days, I had pretty much the backbone of all the songs, to be fair. And I was and you just can't put it down fast enough, So I'm kind of lucky that it happened to me, where it could have been a big blank. Who knows?
Do you do the demos yourself? Do you play other instruments? So
yeah,
if somebody hears the demos, it's you on drums and bass?
Yeah, I've got a drum machine. Obviously, I've put bass guitar. I didn't put bass guitar down on these demos, just rough drums, but I did put vocals down and lyrics and stuff like that. And then I call in the brigade and go, okay, we need to make these demos sound better, before they're even playable, really, to people like Ripper and that, but we managed to get Ripper over before COVID to put all of the stuff down, and we got the drums down as well, which was great. And literally the day that they went back was the day COVID just shut everything down.
Wow.
But at least I had plenty to play with, to juggle around and embellish, guitar parts and lots of stuff, because you never keep messing and dabbling, at some point.
Right.
You just have to hand the record over because usually the money or time or both runs out.
Right.
But in this instance, I had a lot more time to play with it, which was really good. So I was blessed.
I really like what this band is. And the best parallel I could join it to is Van Hagar. The way that Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony have started their own social media going, hey, we're the other half of the band. And we did a lot of stuff. And we did a lot of stuff that you've never seen before. And we're going to keep working together because we like each other. And I look at you and Ripper like that. It's wonderful to see that you kept in touch all those years. In other words, that he wasn't a guy that went, they fired me from Priest. I never want to see any of them ever again. That's not the case. You two are cool.
No, because Ripper would come to the UK and play his tours, with Disciples of Dio and his own tours and stuff. And I would go to the gigs together with AJ, actually, the guitar player, and we'd just hang out and have a few beers and stuff like that. But Ripper's dead cool. But like I say, yeah, it's good that, the record will contain everything that people would expect from me, I think, really, from one extreme to the other, really, in respect of content. Already now with the release of 3 songs, you'll see, a spectrum, akin to probably like stuff, I kind of example I would give is like from a Blood Red Skies to a Living After Midnight, which is like kind of typical with Priest, because as much as we do like to get pretty deep, well, I do as a songwriter, into content, in songs like Sermon of the Sinner, Return of the Sentinel, and Hell for the Priest. It gets pretty deep in there, with some pretty nifty instrumental stuff. But the other time is we do like to rock out, as they say, So, and that's very kind of typical of what I did all my life, really, with albums, I think, like Ram It Down could have the song Ram It Down, Blood Red Skies, but it also could have songs like, Love Zone, and stuff like, so there's kind of that spectrum of what we like to think is acceptable in the realms of rock and heavy metal.
I'd have to imagine there's not a lot of pressure that you feel about this album, because at this point in your career, you've done the arenas and the stadiums. I'm sure at this very second, there's a song that you wrote playing on a radio station right now, and in a minute, it'll be another song that's playing of yours somewhere. So in that sense, this is a band that people asked for. People went, hey, we haven't seen KK in a while. We would like to see Ripper perform in some context with Ken or Judas Priest. So it's not a case of you having to go, please like us. This is I feel like doing music. This is natural, right? Or do you actually feel a lot of pressure?
Yeah, I just found, I kind of amazed myself, really, how it all came together so easily, really, with just me on my own, and also with the production of the record, basically, so all encompassing, really, I didn't have to bring in other producers and stuff like that to do anything, I knew how I wanted the record to sound, and I think it sounds great. I really do. It's really ballsy, and there's no oversaturated guitars, or the same with the drums, everything's pretty organic and natural. There's plenty of headroom in, which makes it sound big anyway,
Yeah.
Which is good, so, and I'm really raring to go on the next record, really. I can't wait to find, the time to get stuck in. But that will happen, that will happen. When this record's out, and I guess we'll go into the winter period and stuff like that, obviously we're still waiting for some pretty good gigs to come along. It'd be great to jump on the Kiss tour or the Scorpions tour, but it's all down to agents and promoters and stuff like that. But I guess we'll have our chance at some point, to get out there.
the thing that you mentioned with it being up to promoters and agents, I'm sure that's the part of the music industry you didn't miss for the 10 years or so. You didn't miss having conference calls. You just missed getting on stage, playing, and being with your friends.
Yeah. And I think that because obviously I always thought the door would be ajar, with Judas Priest, and at some point, it makes a lot of eminent sense because
Sure.
Because I mean that whole story was so distorted, isn't funny. I never retired from the band, and I can prove that. It's all documented.
Yeah.
The way that all unraveled, and lots of people don't know that I did change my mind to do the tour, and lots of people don't know that it was the final tour, the farewell tour. That's the only thing I wasn't going to do originally, was the farewell tour. We all had sent our notice in to retire, and it was going to be the end of the band.
Yeah.
I just couldn't bring myself to do that last tour because I didn't think I would enjoy it, and my headspace was just in a strange place at the time. But a couple of months later, I did change my mind. I was talking to Ian, the bass player, about doing the tour, and I had him send the set list over and everything. But they just went ahead and announced I'd retired. So I just drew the conclusion that they'd met somebody else. They'd been for a few beers. There was lots of backslapping going on, and they were happy with the new guy, Richie, and they were going to go ahead anyway. So I just had to sit there for the years and wait for space to come.
Yeah.
And when it did happen with Glenn, I thought I would get the call automatically, but no, wasn't to happen. So
yeah.
So I got pretty angry about it all, to be fair, and that's So it's a very detailed situation,
I didn't mean to take you down that road. Although, when I think about it, most of my favorite bands, a comparable situation is the case. With Kiss, their farewell tour, stuff happened with members there. Van Halen with the last few tours, things happened there. Just about every band I love, there was a miscommunication when there shouldn't have been. But fortunately, you're taking things forward, whereas a lot of people would just be sitting around going, well, if I'm not doing arenas, I don't want any part of it. So kudos to you for wanting to rewrite your legacy.
Yeah, because I mean, right up until I started this whole project, I did confirm with them in writing. They said, no, the door's closed. I'm going, doesn't make any sense. But anyway, like I say now, I've kind of newfound self, really. I know that I can write, record, produce, and obviously I've been a part of producing together with Glenn on many, many albums, so I don't have to pull in a bunch of like prolific producers to work with me. I mean, I can just get it done, you know. And so I feel much relief now that, I suppose it's like a lot of times when there is no other option, you have to go this route.
Mm-hmm.
And now that it's happened, I'm in a good place, I'm rocking out and we're raring to go, We just hope that obviously there's a big backlog of bands now that were booked last year and this year ready to go out, so there's oversaturation, but there'll be a space for us, and when that happens, it's all hell's gonna let loose is what's gonna happen.
For sure. Well, I've got 2 Judas Priest history-oriented questions for you, and then a fun question, and then you're free to talk to your next journalist of your choosing. And that first Judas Priest question is, there's infamously a couple of tracks you guys did with Stock, Aitken, and Waterman for Judas Priest. And those are rumored to forever be in the archives. Somebody leaked a little bit of a clip of that. But were you personally happy with those recordings, or was it other members that didn't like those and are keeping those from being released?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things, basically, our manager was friends with Pete Waterman. They've been friends for years. Sure. And I think Pete flew over to Denmark when we were recording over there. I think it was a Ram It Down album, if I remember rightly. And we met with Pete, and Pete's a great guy, you know. And the thing is, the whole team was very, very talented, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they just suggested we fly to Paris and spend a couple of days there and lay a couple of tracks down, and that's what we did. And so we met up with the guys, and their pre-preparation was absolutely wonderful. They made everything very easy for us, and we put down 3 tracks. But then it was essentially myself and Glenn, I think, really, that said that we shouldn't release the tracks. You know, as much as we liked them and they sounded great, they're all very professional. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't right for us, and we stood by that decision. And today, I personally think it was the right decision for sure. You know, but no one, our manager or Pete or Stock and Aiken, none of them ever said anything to us about it. It was our decision, you know, and they were very cool with it. And that was it. It just went by, and so there you go.
And it's just in history. Well, the next thing I'm curious about is, I know that Rob was on the Hearing Aid song Stars. Some people have listed you as being part of Stars, but you were not on that session, correct?
Correct.
So it's just a rumor, but what I had heard, this is something that I'd heard, is a lot of bands, their management went, we don't know if this is going to be successful. We'll give you 1 guy from the band. We don't want to give 3. Do you know if that was the case with your management, where they went, this might not end up well?
No, I don't even remember there being a conversation. Certainly don't remember being asked to be a part of it, I don't think. You know, but anything to do with, if there's any charity or anything like that, you know, we've done so much in our careers, you know, yeah. And still do, you know, and are always willing to be a part of that. I think we were the 4th or 5th band to accept to do Live Aid.
Yeah.
You know, which does help to start the ball rolling, you know, when certain bands say, yeah, I'll do it, and, you know, other bands go, oh, if they're doing it, we'll do it. So, but we were asked to do it, and we said yes, you know, very early on, which was good.
Yeah, and that is a great set that stands the test of time. Other hard rock bands, without naming names, you don't want to rewatch their sets from Live Aid, but not you and your old bandmates. And my last question for you is, do you have a TV recommendation for people who need a new show to start? Like, what are you watching on TV these days?
I don't tend to watch too much television, but if I do, I watch kind of anything that's fact, not fiction, you know, so anything from travel programs to anything that's educational, you know. So I think that you can, you know, you can never stop learning in life, and you're never too old to learn. And so I guess, I don't know, I don't want to be a bit of an anorak, you know, but there's so much things that we don't know, so many things about history and stuff, you know, if you ask people about the Knights Templar, they wouldn't probably be able to give you a paragraph on it, you know, but, and the same with me. So, you know, I'm interested in stuff and how cultures start and what the real deal is, you know, in history, you know, and it's kind of, good to learn things, if that makes sense, you know.
There's a lot of books behind me, so it makes sense to me.
Exactly. You know, I'll be the first to watch a cookery program if somebody's making a real good curry or something, or, you know, or something like fancy, you know, anything that's kind of real, if that makes sense. And sport is right up there as well, you know. Obviously, the Olympics are on now, so, you know, it's good. I just watched a triathlon the other night, and that guy was amazing. Was he from Norway? Unbelievable, you know.
Yeah.
I'm thinking how it's kind of good because I can draw a comparison to, like, being successful in a rock band. You know, it's like you have to really, really dig deep. You know, how do people dig that extra, you know, few inches just to draw out a gold medal? It's insane, you know.
I don't know, and you don't know, but we'll both keep learning. And thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to seeing you live in New York when you're eventually here, man. Thank you, KK.
It's a pleasure, Darren, and thank you for the interview, and good luck with everything. I will see you in New York for sure.
Paltrocast.